Well, so I was invited to an extended family party. I think from the corner of my eye, I would see 23, 24-year-old, girl kind of running through my periphery and stuff. And I was sort of curious. We didn't get to have sort of serious conversations at that point, but I knew immediately that I was, attracted to her, so much so that I asked my cousin when we got into the car about her, and he said, this is who she is, and, XYZ. She had a certain connection with her family also, that even though she was really young, they looked to her and her opinion of things and her storytelling and, the way she would make kind of everyone laugh. I mean, that's, I guess, one of the first things I noticed was just the way she would laugh. And it kind of made me want to laugh with her.
And then a year later, he started texting me, WhatsApping me, and he lived in another part of the world and I live in another part of the world. So it started on the phone, I would say.
It was pretty cute. I remember when I said, can we FaceTime, and she said, yeah, sure, why? And I was like, because I'd like to see your face.
And my sister was there with me then, and I'm like, he's asking me for FaceTime. She's like,
what? I'm like, why? And it was at 8 o'clock in the morning because he stays in New York, so the time difference and everything. And then she's like, what do I do? So my mom and me were like, please FaceTime and talk to him and see what he wants to say.
I think that's pretty amazing. It was almost like a love at first sight. And then he knew, okay, I want to get to know this girl. How am I going to do it? Let's pick up the phone, make it happen, come to India, visit her, court her.
She's, very funny, has a huge heart. And at one point I just kind of knew, how could it get better than this?
There are some things that you just know it was that. You just know it's right.
First time in his life he felt that he was swept off his feet, and that for the first time in his life I could get this sense that he was impatient to then get with her on a permanent basis and get married.
We were in Delhi and our parents were meeting for the first time. My mom and his mom met, and then he was packing to go to New York that same night. And then he goes out, has a little of a chat and comes in, and then he's like, you know what, they've decided we're getting engaged and in another 6 months getting married. And I'm like, okay, thank you for telling me. So that was our conversation.
And my mother sends me a message. I'm not even kidding. She sends me a message in the morning saying, all done, your sister might get engaged in May. I'm like, excuse me. So I call her back and she's like, this is the bet that we had, that you're going to call back in like less than 5 seconds.
We had an engagement, I had a ring and everything, but he wanted to do something by himself. So he planned it, like, we'll go to a concert and, when my favorite song comes on, I'll give her the ring. And he had it all planned out.
So my sister, being who she is, has got a huge, massive bucket of popcorn and literally like eating popcorn like that.
He looks at me, he's like, I can't do that now. But luckily for us, it was Adele's last day. So she didn't end on her last song. She sang another one of her hits, Rolling in the Deep and all of that. And that was the finale. And then that's when he gave me a ring and like all that.